So we've had official confirmation,
Yes.
of Made by Google, 20th of August. I don't know. I don't know if I'm excited. I don't know how I feel, actually. How do you guys feel right now?
I don't know, the mood is, there's a finally, obviously, that we know the date, officially, like you're saying. August 20th, it's a week later than last year, but it's of course much earlier than previous years where it was October, like the earliest was like late September. So back to that. It's given now since how the Android release schedule is going earlier, so set in stone. But I don't know, it's a big finally. The hint, it's the invite itself was a bit on the vague side, just said made by Google, with Google's saying you'll get the latest on our phones, watches, and buds. Obligatory AI mention. But yeah, it's official.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm it's a weird thing to get excited about because, you know, usually this kind of feels like the you know, final hill to cross over before we really start seeing both real leaks and then actual teasers as to what's to come. I do kind of feel like with this launch, it's like, because all of the leaks so far have shown like, oh, we're looking at fairly similar devices as compared to last year. It's a little more difficult to feel like if you've used a Pixel 9 at all, it's a little more challenging to feel like, yeah, I'm so hyped for this device that is very similar to the one I'm either currently using or have used, or which I think does point to probably like a AI centric and software centric release.
Absolutely.
And those are the things that tend to not leak as much. You know, like we get some, you know, inklings here and there, but like if you think back to a year ago, we did not know everything Google was going to announce for the Pixel 9 series in terms of software. Like I don't remember leaks about like AdMe, for example. Maybe there were, but they didn't sit in my brain in the same way that like a hardware leak does. And so like maybe I'm talking myself into thinking this is going to be a more exciting launch than I expect, because it's like, I know the hardware is going to be similar. So what else do they have to show off that, you know, other than the fact that you have to do an announcement or whatever, an event, what is the purpose for this event? And so, yeah, I don't know. Like I'm looking for it. I think I've talked myself in the last 90 seconds into being excited.
Yeah. I was thinking the same. I was like, is this how iPhone people feel when the iOS and what do they call their event? I don't even know. Whatever Apple calls their launch events, it feels like we're in the same frame of mind. Like it's going to be the same device. Yeah. Like we know most of it is going to be pretty much the same. Yeah. We're going to get all of the same sort of things. And then I guess, I'm definitely biased. I think Google will have more to show off in terms of the software than Apple can potentially do. And we've seen that over the past couple of years. It's a strange one, right? Because we have, and I'm just looking at it now, we have potentially Pixel 10, Pixel 10 Pro, Pixel 10 Pro XL, Pixel 10 Pro Fold, and then a mention of earbuds, and watch. So there's six devices there. Have I done my maths right there? I don't even know if we've done it correctly. If there's 6 devices, there's 6 devices. I think the biggest thing, though, that people want to know about, I think the enthusiast lineup of people will say Tensor G5. The hardware doesn't matter now. We just want a really good chipset. And if that's not going to be the huge upgrade, then maybe we're even more looking at it and trying to find ways to be intrigued by the hardware. It's got to be software, right? It has to be.
And it's interesting because, you know, Google has never been one to get up on stage and promote the specs of the Pixel series. And I expect that to be even more true this year. Like they can't get up on stage and be like, introducing Tensor G5. This is
the one year they could.
But like, are they going to want to like acknowledge that the fanfare or the fan reaction around Tensor has been fairly lackluster since 2021?
They'll never acknowledge it, but it's if they want to talk. Well, okay, there is some precedent for them going all out on chips, but that's on the Google Cloud side, on the server side.
True.
With their
Yeah.
TPUs. So there is some precedent for that, for Google to go in on specs and feeds. So I think they should. Like, I feel like the first 4 years they haven't had any reason to, but I feel like now that's everything's in-house, that presumably all the development, they have all their ducks in a row. I feel like this is the year they should start, because their audience, like specifically, they obviously have an enthusiast audience, and that obviously plays well to that crowd. So I think they should embrace it in terms of if we're having a wish list of what we want Google to do.
Well, are we expecting Tensor G5 to be a Snapdragon 8 Elite class chip, or are we just expecting it to be, developed in-house, made by TSMC, but not necessarily a massive leap in raw performance over its predecessors, which is what reading the tea leaves is how I felt about Tensor G5, is that, like, I think, TSMC has proven itself to be able to make a much more efficient chipset than Samsung.
Efficiency.
But I still think Google's going to want to focus on AI and just like all around general use
to the chip,
as opposed to gaming.
They add to the chip that allows to do. Again, I'm a bit on-device AI. I don't think it's there yet. In terms of, I don't think, compared to what's happening in the cloud, I don't think how the power is there yet on device. I think Google, of all the companies, it's up to Google right now to show what it can do on device, which we'll talk about in a bit with Pixel Sense and whatnot. But I think they have to start somewhere, is but basically my point. And Pixel screenshots last year was a start. It hasn't taken the world by storm, I don't think.
I won't have a bad word said against Pixel screenshots. Yeah. It is fantastic. It's a great application.
But it's just like, I would be perfectly fine with it without the AI features. Like,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I think you kind of stole the question I was going to ask you, both of you more broadly, Will, is that if they reach a level of performance where it's like, what would be the best way to describe it? Performant enough that it can potentially be in the mix with maybe last year's top tier phones, which I think is absolutely fine. Like that would be the dream, I think, if Tensor G5 is at, say, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 level. Yeah. And again, we'll complain about Qualcomm's naming convention as well. It's G4 and G5, it makes sense. Do you think if they do that and they get that, Google is going to then almost, I don't want to say be a bit disrespectful to what the partnership with Samsung and Samsung Foundry with the previous Tensors. Are they going to go all in and say, hey, TSMC have taken control of this kind of situation?
They don't mention the
Do you
words
think they just completely silence it?
I don't think they do. I think it's too.
I think the key is talking about efficiency, like showing how much more efficient, I think more battery life, etc., and AI stuff.
I think you read between the lines, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Does that then throw shade at Samsung, like inadvertently? Like I think whatever they do, it's not going to look good, right? I know the conversation is going to be bad.
Yeah, that was my broader point, I think, which is that, like, I don't think there's any way to not throw a little bit of shade at Samsung. But if you are going to talk about Tensor G5 in any detail, if many of the improvements are coming from either moving chipset development in-house or the switch to TSMC, both of those point a finger at Samsung that I think is even if it's unspoken, will be there, you know?
And then that changes, I think, again, that changes the dynamic because obviously Samsung are almost in bed with Google on so many things. Yeah. And last year at the Pixel, this is why the reason why I kind of asked is last year at the Made by Google, which is always the strangest time to see other devices. Yeah. They had a S24 on stage and were demoing some. Do you think they might do that again this year? But then is that an olive branch to Samsung, or is that just Google saying, hey, it's ubiquitous, we can use Gemini anyway, it doesn't matter what it is?
Because they need to start, it's the obligatory Android mention. Again, it's the same organization now, so they have to start with Android they have to give everybody in the ecosystem something. So that's why it is that.
I do wonder if the other thing is that, we've seen reports that Samsung was kind of shaken by the fact that Google switched away from Samsung foundries to TSMC foundries, which I wonder if that gives Google kind of permission to, because of how poorly we've heard about Samsung foundries performing, like that their yield results are like 50% in some cases, right? Like 1 in 2 chipsets are not up to snuff. That's a problem. And I do wonder if there is a certain level of like, look, guys, we stuck it out. Like, we have to go somewhere else for this. This is not like a personal thing. Like it's a get your ducks in a row type thing for Samsung. And I do wonder if maybe like higher level Samsung brass above their foundry business are like, do to a certain extent are probably more frustrated with their foundry business than Google being like, we got to go somewhere else. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you. I think that probably is a really good point.
Full speculation, obviously, but that's my read on how that reporting was coming out. Yeah.
So I guess well, you kind of answered my question. I thought that. I just wanted to ask it more broadly because you kind of mull over these things. It seems like the end of the Exynos Tensor era, as it were, and then we have this potentially new start point for Tensor again, which I think is a good thing. I think sometimes with Pixel in general, I feel like there's been a lot of false starts, false dawns, and this last year has been almost like consolidation of like, we have a product now that we can potentially push out there to the rest of the world and people will take it and they enjoy it. I do wonder if that, obviously the lack of design changes, I'm really interested to see what the fallout from that is. I don't personally have a problem with it because we've seen so much, go look at the Pixel 6 through to the Pixel 9. Yes, they're part of the same family, but they are very, very different devices by now, right?
Yeah.
The software is tight, melding everything together. I do wonder what we're going to see in terms of like audience response. I know there's a lot of people who are potentially looking to upgrade. I don't know if anyone's going to be upgrading from the Pixel 9. I think that might be quite silly in terms of financials, but what do you think in terms of like the upgrade path for people?
If there are, of course, people that buy new phones every single year. And I think Google's biggest pitch to them is improved build quality. That the button, that just better tolerances, better all that all around.
Yeah.
But again, we'll talk about this next, but it has to be software. That has to be the pitch. But otherwise, the hardware looking the same is... They didn't learn their lesson on colors. The 9 Pro looks to have stayed colors. The 9 looks to have better... the 10, the base phone, looks to have better colors. They didn't learn their lesson there, which is unfortunate. I guess the Pixel Snap magnetic Qi charging accessories, if presumably that only works with the 10, I think that could be a big draw to people to a real upgrade cycle for the accessories that they have in the car, at home, at the desk, etc.
I didn't even think about Pixel Snap. I just want to read the room real quick, and then I'll make my last point about Tensor, and we can move on. But do you guys think it's built into the phone, or do you guys think that like every Pixel Snap / G2 accessory requires a case? What do we think?
I hope it isn't the case. I hope it isn't the case again. I think obviously you can get third-party ones that do it with the existing lineups. Yeah. I just think it would be a really big missed opportunity if they didn't put it in the phone.
I agree. If you're going to give it a brand, you gotta ship it. You gotta make it so that when I take that thing out of the box, I have access to the Pixel Snap ecosystem without having to buy a case.
Most people have cases.
I know. I know
most
that.
People buy cases. So
it's tricky because I understand. When I talked to OnePlus in December about the OnePlus 13 ahead of its launch, I asked them, why is Qi 2? You have this whole you have this big wireless charger brick that fast charges it, but you need to buy their case or a MagSafe case or whatever. But like realistically, the OnePlus magnet case to use it, it's like, why didn't you just put it in the phone? And they're like, well, most people just put a case on their phone, so we didn't see a reason to take up internal space. And it's like, okay, but like if you want this idea of Qi 2 to catch on, I still feel like it needs to be in a part of the phone that is like built in at the core. And also when you buy a case, it probably also has the magnetic support. But I feel like it doesn't feel like it's a real feature if it's not there without an additional accessory. I don't know. And I also say this as someone who primarily doesn't use a case on their phones anymore. So maybe that's where I'm coming from on this.
You're spoiled. You just want your cake and eat it.
I have learned my lesson on this multiple times. I within like a week of getting my OnePlus open, dropped that thing right onto cement. And I will be, it didn't crack or anything, but that corner had a chip in it for the rest of the time I used that phone. So yeah.
But I heavily agree with you on the idea that if they come up with this branding and then make it as an optional case specific functionality, which is I feel like I'm spinning it just by saying that out loud. Google can have that one for free. Basically, I think you almost diminish the point of it because other third-party manufacturers are already making these magnetic options to add MagSafe to Android devices.
Exactly.
I get the impression that as soon as Samsung do it, which they will, Samsung will definitely do it. I'm surprised they didn't do it with the S25 this year. As soon as they do it, everyone else will follow suit, I think, on Android. I do find it weird that no one has done it to this point in time. Not even just like false, just magnets, but I guess that could affect
just that
signal.
One. Oh my God, what's the company that makes Nokia phones?
HMD?
It's that one HMD phone that has
right.
I was like, I wanted to say HTC and I was like, nope, it's a different 3-letter acronym. The last thing I wanted to say about Tensor, and Damien, this is to your point about upgrade paths. I do think there is, because we have heard Tensor G5 rumors date back to probably Tensor G3, I want to say. Like, I feel like we were still in the waning days of the Pixel 7, waiting for the Pixel 8 when we started to hear reports about about what Google was planning for the Pixel 10's chipset. I do feel like there's maybe a core group of like enthusiast users that have like kind of built up a level of expectation that cannot be met. Like, I do think there is, unless if Google gets on stage and announces anything short of a chipset that is essentially the Snapdragon 8 Elite but made by Google, I don't think they're going to be happy, and I don't think that's what we're going to get. And so I do worry a little bit that like there is going to be this sense of disappointment brought on August 20th when, you know, Tensor G5 is like a good evolution for Tensor, but not a complete reinvention of that series of processors.
Yeah, I think people want a quantum computer in their phones just for the sake of it. But I mean, the upside is that, well, I say the upside. I think the negative is that people see TSMC and expect, it's going to be there. TSMC is the foundry behind this chip. It's going to have comparable performance to the most top tier chips. I think as long as they're hitting baselines and it's a step above what we get, all they need to do is just keep making forward steps. And I think eventually they will make a quantum leap. There will be at some point. I'm sure there will. How long people can hold out waiting to buy their next device with this big performance leap, I don't know. I must admit, this is the first year in a while that I genuinely think there is a very, very big difference between performance on the Pixel 9 and other top tier devices. I think you can see it now. I think a lot of that is to do with the storage personally, but yeah, that's all unquantifiables. But people will be happy about it. I'm sure the general public who are looking at a device and don't want an iPhone and want something that's slightly different, I think the biggest draw, like we're going to allude to now, is software. And if Material 3 Expressive is pushed the way that it should be pushed as this big evolution, much like the phones are not necessarily major evolutions, I think that can be enough of a visual draw. I think when Material U was first announced, the consensus online was this is genuinely quite a gorgeous looking OS. Yeah. Material 3 Expressive looks and feels fantastic already on a slightly less performant Pixel 9. Like I say, if they make a small leap and there's improvements to the Pixel 10, I think we have the best foundation possible. And I'm excited to see what they do on stage. If I know you talked about Pixel Sense. Is Pixel Sense one of those things that's going to be completely game changing for the way we use our phones, do you think? Or is it just going to be one of those side notes, a little bit like the way you've offhand talked about Pixel screenshots, Abner.
I'm in that boat on screenshots as well, by the way. I'm sorry, Damien.
Nah, can we cancel this podcast, please?
So I think in terms of the biggest game-changing thing that Google has, and they've shown off already, is at I.O. when they had Astra controlling your Android phone, making calls for you, opening apps, getting you to YouTube videos, all that. I don't think that's ready yet. I don't think that's ready yet. I would be amazed. I want it to be ready by this August, but I think that's sometime early next year is when I feel like that's ready. Like when camera sharing launched earlier this year in March-ish.
It's also, that's got to be an opt-in type thing, like a limited beta. Like they're going to slow roll how they push that out to people. And I wonder if they don't, that doesn't need to be a part of the Pixel 10 launch event because it's not really a Pixel 10 experience at launch. So why market it when we have eyes on us? You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
So like they can show it off at the developer conference because I think there's a lot more forgiveness for like, this is a work in progress. We're a year or two away from this. But at the, I've noticed this, that when Google does their Pixel launches, they're, with a couple exceptions, right? Like we saw video boost on the Pixel 8, right?
Zoom enhance as well.
Or sorry, no, that's what I was thinking of. Zoom enhance on the Pixel 8.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry, my bad. Pixel zoom enhance on the Pixel 8 just never arrived, right? That was that's a Pixel 9 thing. But largely speaking, they tried to.
8 Pro.
What's that?
It did. It's on the 8 Pro.
Is it on the 8 Pro? Maybe.
Yeah, only on the Pro.
Only on the Pro. Okay,
Pro.
But it was a full year later that I think they anticipated, and I do feel like that's how Google approaches these, is that the Pixel, made by Google, is a much more consumer focused. Here's what you can get, today or roughly today when you pre-ordered a device, as opposed to the dev focused IO where it's like, here is our vision for the future. So I could totally see Astra maybe getting a mention, right? Maybe getting a like, eventually we're doing this, but largely speaking, probably being absent. And then I agree with you, Abner. I think a slow beta rollout next year makes sense.
Yeah, in the near term, there's something called Pixel Sense. Magic Cues have leaked, where essentially, if you're doing something on your phone, like somebody asks you, what's your flight number? Your phone will be presumably Gemini will be aware that that question is being asked and that it can look in your email, in your Gmail for the flight number and offer it as a suggestion, presumably in the Gboard suggestions as well. That is, if done well, that would be highly convenient, and I could see it giving Pixel a genuine differentiator. But it could be Pixel screenshots, or it could be the next big thing, and that comes down to just how seamless it is, how fast it is, and that this is on-device AI. And how does that feel like in your life? I don't see myself rejecting the suggestion if it's right. So that could be a new way.
Well, yeah, the closest approximation I had to that was a few hours ago. I bought something on eBay and I didn't realize it hadn't arrived because I wasn't constantly checking where it was. And so I had to go through search through Gmail to see when I'd ordered it, because what it's like sometimes we're very spoiled in that we have multiple devices. I wasn't logged into eBay on my device, and it only had my work email account on it. So it would mean logging in, getting my Titan key, doing all that stuff. I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to search through Gmail on my PC. I went to Gmail and searched for the eBay purchase, and I buy a lot of things on eBay by the looks of it. So trying to find that exact purchase to work out which one hadn't arrived was a really frustrating ordeal. If I could have asked, okay, when did I purchase this thing? It would have just taken me straight to it. And then I can put a complaint into the guy on the PC straight into eBay and be like, hey, why hasn't this arrived? Yeah. It could be useful. I know that's I guess it's a little bit of an edge case, but little things like that I think would make a difference.
Yeah, it's the little things. Like the big thing with AI is there's no one big example that's shared among people.
It's a collection of edge cases.
It's a collection of edge cases, 1,000 little more of
that's what it's
things
best
that
at
people
least.
want help in their life. And it's like I've said before, it's the hardest thing to advertise because you can't make ads. You can't talk about all those examples that could be used in your life. You just need to, as a user, you just need to embrace it and see how it goes for a few weeks and see if it fits into your lifestyle.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here because if Gemini is so good, couldn't they technically advertise specifically to everyone based upon their specific needs? And they could use VO to do it, I'm pretty sure. But I mean, the computing power to do that will probably blow up the planet. But
Damien, you sound like me every time I open Google Photos and and I've taken a photo that was that has not been rotated correctly. Like let's say like I snapped a photo of my Pixel, but it didn't detect the correct orientation of the device. And I'm like, if AI was so good, I should not have to mess with this. It should it should just know that the text of this image is rotated 90 degrees and fix it. That has been my complaint of like, come on, man, AI's so good. Why can't it do this? Why isn't it doing this for me already? Anyway,
definitely for those little tasks. I think that's probably how they can effectively. It is marketing, right? The launch event is marketing. If they do that at the event and say, "Hey, here's what you can potentially do with this Pixel Sense functionality," and to be quite honest with you, I do think Google's quite good at giving you examples. Like I don't know if it's in the US, but they have a Gemini ad here in the UK where somebody's cooking and they ask that they don't have a specific ingredient, and Gemini says, "Try this one instead." Don't get me wrong, I'm still not so sure Gemini's giving him the correct information. Because I haven't checked it, and this is a problem with AI. I have to fact check everything. I think if you had you have a fairly good idea about cooking, and you would know that ingredient would work. You're like, hey, that's a good example. Like those are the good things I think Google is good at doing. In their marketing for Gemini. Whether or not people kind of react to it and take it on board is another thing entirely. I do think. Whatever they do with the software, I think at the end of the day is selling hardware, and people just want to see something shiny, something new. Is it better than what I had before? And I do wonder how they're going to also sell it via backporting. Does that make sense? So like, who's going to get this functionality with Gemini? Is Pixel Sense going to be exclusive to 10? But then there's going to be some things that eventually drip down the ladder, and they can't alienate those Gemini potentially customers because some people are paying $20 a month, right? So they've got this huge balancing act, I think.
Someone out there is paying $200 a month. It's not me.
The misinformation scammers. But I don't know. How do you think they're going to do this? Because the keynotes, have they given timings for the keynotes yet? So I haven't seen the invite personally, so I can't
be an hour.
Quantify it. Probably an hour. Okay, well, it's not necessarily a long time, is it? So it's going to be 15 minutes of crib notes on what essentially Gemini is going to boil down to wider, and then that specific Pixel 10 focus. I think they're going to have to be really, really laser focused once the devices are out there in the wild and people can go out and pre-order and buy them, because otherwise it's going to get lost in a deluge. Well, what do we think? What do we think in other terms of hardware though? Because obviously we talked a lot Pixel 10, Pixel Sense. How are they going to contribute towards how Pixel Watch 4, is going to differentiate itself from Pixel 3, because Pixel Watch 3, I can't even get the names right. Hardware, we haven't seen anything in the hardware. We know potentially it's going to have the same chipset inside. If anything, that's an even lesser upgrade than the Pixel 10.
We've been using Gemini. Have we all gotten Gemini on our watches
Not yet, no.
I have not gotten it yet.
No, not yet.
No.
I got it the other day, and the fact that it can integrate with apps is like the biggest. It feels so much closer to what's on your phone than ever before. And I know, Damien, you were excited by it when you used it in the Galaxy Watch. It is honest. I mean, I see why Samsung wanted it as the launch feature on their watches, but it would have been a great one for Google. So now with that out of the way, I'm wondering what software on the Pixel Watch looks like. I don't know, fine Fine Hub app was kind of spotted last year. Maybe that happens this year. The watches, even more so than the phones, it's harder to ping down what the features are. Like last year, there was a big health focus with the pulse detection thing. The running thing was last year too, right? On the Pixel Watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was.
That's if AI is like a niche thing to target as a selling point. I think health is slightly, like exercise might be a bit more limited there. And in terms of other health features, nothing obvious comes to mind.
Do you think they might just look at it and say, let's just consolidate what our health features are, and we will try and increase accuracy and all that kind of thing?
Because like a coaching thing that the
possibly.
Apple Watch got this year, that could be interesting. But I don't know, like in terms of apps, what more battery life improvements? There's a bump, but it's not really 2 days yet. Well, officially it's not 2 days yet. I can get the 2 days pretty easily. I don't know. It's a harder thing. Like this, like we're talking about the Pixel phones looking the same between last year and this year, and the Pixel watches look the same from the beginning.
My interpretation of it is that I think with auxiliary accessories like a watch, and it's something that's paired to your phone anyway, I think you can get, and it's not giving Google a free pass and any company a free pass. I think you can kind of take less risks. Like the bases are covered. You need potentially 2 to 3 day battery life if that's feasible. Does it bridge your notifications? Does it have a few applications, maybe a media player of some kind? You can reply to messages. I think they probably got the fundamentals down fairly quickly with the Pixel Watch, right? Mm-hmm. When they reintroduced their own hardware. Like there are not many companies that have done that straight away. Like even Samsung had a lot of problems with their Galaxy Watch lineup when they had Tizen, and then they had that kind of rocky road back to Wear OS. I think as long as they consolidate and continue to do what they've done with previous versions, all 3 of them, I think people will be pretty happy. I think,
and material too expensive. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. I think that's going to be a huge thing, right? So if it launches with that, you can't get that available on the Pixel Watch 3 right now as part of any beta phase, right? So I think that could be a little bit of a selling point. I think, like you say, the fitness element is going to be huge, because while I think that the Fitbit application's fine, maybe they have a section and dedicate more to what they're going to do with Fitbit app and improve it.
Coach, well, I mean, it's the same thing, but coaching, like helping you in all aspects of your life, that's a harder thing to. That would be a useful app. That would be a very useful application of AI. Yeah,
I think the watch is kind of a foregone conclusion. I think people just want the new one. Like they may have some new colors, I guess, and maybe the screen will increase in size again, but. Yeah, it is what it is, right?
It's a very Apple approach to wearables, right? Because like the Apple Watch, unless you really want to count the Ultra design, but like you could look at a Series 10. Yeah, a Series 10 and the first Apple Watch from 2015 looked virtually identical, and every time there's been a rumored redesign, an Apple event has come and gone without it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that necessarily. I know Samsung has obviously, wanted to shake up its design every couple of years or whatever, but I don't think there's anything wrong with approaching these watches as we don't expect anybody to buy these every year. We
expect them to watches more than phones. I think it's people. It's 2 years, even more. It's the upgrade cycle is just different, and it's kind of interesting how that happened naturally. Even though, watches are even cheaper than a phone. Yeah,
that's a good point. You have to spend a lot more money to upgrade your phone than the watch, and yet I am much more reluctant to upgrade my wearables than I am my smartphone. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, a lot of people tend to do like 3 and 4 year cycles by the looks of it. Like, I know a lot of people, you can see a lot of people running around with Apple Watch Series 7 on all that.
Exactly.
I doubt that. I hope there's not very many people out there still using the Pixel Watch 1 in some respects because the battery was terrible. But apart from that, it's an absolutely fine piece of kit. I think, I have mixed emotions towards the Pixel Watch because I like the design, and I think that
bezels could be better.
Maybe the bezel could be a little bit better, but overall, I do think there are 3 real Wear OS options. You want the classy Pixel Watch. You want the rugged Galaxy Watch, and then right in the middle, I think sits in between them is a OnePlus Watch 3, which I think is fantastic. I think OnePlus, I mean, I could have a full episode glazing OnePlus this year because it's almost like they've done something. I don't know what they've been doing at Oppo, OnePlus, whatever, but they've knocked it out of the park this year, and I think they deserve some credit for that. So yeah, that's my rant over. But in terms of other hardware, we talk about watches. That goes hand in hand with earbuds. We're probably not going to get Pixel Buds Pro 3 for a while, or any over-ears. Audio's a strange one because, hey, how often do you upgrade your earbuds? Probably not very often.
No.
Do you think there's going to be an option for people to potentially upgrade there this time around, Abner, based on previous leaks?
It looks like we're getting a new color, which is what happened. Like buds are clear on a 2-year cycle. It looks like we're getting a new color for the Pixel Buds Pro 2, like what happened with the original Pixel Buds Pro at this stage in the life cycle. I think the focus is on the 2A cheaper buds, which, looking at AirPods, looking at the competition, they really do need something more competitive than the Pixel Buds A series. So earbuds, and I hope there's a lot of Gemini stuff coming with them.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I mean, I'm going to give my opinion now, actually. I think that with the way that they handled the Gemini Live rollout for the original Pixel Buds Pro 2, not necessarily the way it probably could have gone. It could have been a little bit more seamless. Maybe a little bit underbaked. I'm hoping that they kind of address that this time around, maybe with the Pixel Buds 2A, but I don't know. Are they going to try and surely they're going to try and shoehorn Gemini in there somewhere in some format.
And I feel like could be this year's pre-order gift if they're even doing that again. It's pretty cheap. It looks like the Pixel Buds Pro 2 might as well be it.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one more final thing about the hardware at this event. What are you, both of you, I want to ask, what's the one product in the entire lineup that you think I will be pre-ordering day one? Because I kind of have one in my mind already.
Pre-ordering.
I don't know. Abner, do you want to take this first? I don't know.
I'm drawing blanks.
I'm going to pre-order I think the base with that 3X telephoto.
I was going to say, if
I'm
going to pre-order anything, it probably would be the base model, because I don't, the XL, I think I've decided is too big, and I kind of, I don't know. I guess
I think I'm on a new Pixel stand here. I think I'm on the accessories front this year with whatever phone.
That makes sense.
The Pixel Stand 2 is chunky. It is too big for what it offers, which is not much.
I've stopped using mine entirely, I must admit. It's like a backup wireless charger, which is a little bit sad because it's in the corner of my room, just left to its own devices. But
it doesn't even look nice, so I don't.
Yeah, it is what it is. They haven't added any functionality, so maybe we'll get that in the future. But one thing I wanted to kind of discuss, that's basically we'll have what have we got, like 6 weeks? Not even 6 weeks. I don't even know how many. 5 weeks. Yeah. Less than 5 weeks until we tell all and see what we've seen and speak about what we potentially are going to be playing with for the next 12 months or so. One thing I wanted to discuss quickly before we left, though, was the stealth drop, as it were, of Android Canary. How do you think that's going to factor into this? Do you think Google's even going to mention this at Made by Google? Because this is a huge deal, right? I think it is. Like, do we learn anything about Cadence? Are they going to reveal any more? Is this going to be, we have this Canary channel?
I'm with Abner. I don't think so. I think this is another thing of like the divide between I/O and Made by Google. Like this is for, hey consumers, here's what you can buy this holiday season when you upgrade your phone. I/O is more of the like, hey developers and enthusiasts, here's what we have, cooking, and then here's what you can play with. I think they, unless there is a feature that is locked to Android Canary, like something like Astra, like, oh, you can try out Astra if you're on the Canary builds or something, like, I don't think it gets a mention.
Yeah, that's why I alluded to it. I was thinking that might be the way that they potentially, if they can
stuff
manage
like Astra finds its way.
Up.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. We're probably going to have some twists and turns until launch. I don't think there's much really that we can discuss apart from I think we've covered leaks pretty extensively. Like, it is a little bit of a by the numbers affair, which is not something that we ordinarily say about a Google
we haven't
Pixel
mentioned
launch.
the Fold at all. We fully avoided talking about, because like we can mention that it sounds like it might be, the first dust-proof foldable, which is cool from an evolutionary, perspective, but it's not revving my engines. Like I'm not I need to run out and buy it.
Upgrade. Yeah, it is. I'm upgrading from the original Pixel Fold this year to that.
That's a good upgrade.
10 Pro Fold. It is. I've been tempted by the 9 Pro Fold all this year. Yeah. But yeah, the 10 Pro Fold, I think the holding it in hand versus the Samsung might make it and might really solidify people's opinions.
Yeah,
I
agree.
I think that's one great big roadblock in the way of the Pixel 10 Pro Fold, a substantially upgraded Galaxy 7 Fold. But yeah, we will have lots and lots of coverage pre, post, during, anything you need to know about Pixel 10.
We'll be in New York. It's a long March. What's that? Less than 5 weeks. This time in 5 weeks, we'll know everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we already don't, leaks ahead of time. But yeah,
exactly. When the inevitable August 17th full product spread leaks, where it's like a PDF with 10 pages every year.
Yeah.
Every year.
100%. I wish it didn't happen one year, but it kind of, I think we're at the point where it is what it is now.
It's tradition now.
It is a tradition. It's definitely a tradition. Just want to say thanks, guys, for joining me. As always, I mean, it may not sound like I'm excited, but I like talking about this stuff. So thanks for even humoring me for the sake of 45 minutes. So
absolutely.
Hopefully we're going to get more time to talk about this. And I know that you guys in the US are going to be fairly well positioned to go to this event, which I'm very jealous of. So we will inform you as we always do in every episode of Pixelated. But thanks for joining me. Everybody have a safe and happy, prosperous weekend, and we'll speak to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.